Welcome to Sibling Scribbles. I am Johnny.
And I am Marin.
And today we are talking about, well, if you couldn't tell by the title, then you can't read. You are a child. You shouldn't be here.
But you can listen. It's an audio podcast.
No, definitely shouldn't listen. They'll understand
Today
what we can talk about.
Today we're going to talk about
Treasure Island. We're talking about
Treasure Planet.
Yes, we are talking about Treasure Planet. This is actually just a Treasure Planet appreciation video.
Yes.
So I recently finished Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, who I don't want to say his full name, his full Christian name every time. So he's Bobby Stevenson.
Bobby Stevenson.
Bobby Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't Dick also a nickname for Robert?
No, that's Richard.
Richard.
Yeah. You
Dang.
really wanted us to call him Dick.
Any opportunity.
So Bobby Stevenson, this was his first book that he ever published. He wrote Jekyll and Hyde later on in his life while on a cocaine binge. We've talked about that.
We have talked about... I didn't realize it was the same guy.
Yeah, me neither.
Good on you,
Honestly.
Vicky. Oh, he's not Richard.
Bobby.
Bobby.
Really wanna-
Robbie S.
Just call him Bobby.
Bobby
he's just-
Lou.
This is a great book.
Yeah.
It's a great book. It was specifically kind of designed to be a best of kind of book.
Uh-huh.
Like it is very much like if someone wrote a Western today, right? Like Westerns were very popular
Okay.
at a certain time, and then mafia movies and Treasure Island is very much this like, oh, do you guys remember friggin' pirate books? Like, this is a pirate book. You guys are gonna love this.
Right.
And it was really good. So I read this, and then I watched Muppets Treasure Island, and then we've both watched Treasure Planet recently. And so today we're going to kind of review the differences between them all.
Right.
And talk about what works and what doesn't work. And because I've read the book, and Marion has not, we're going to kind of use that as a launching point for different conversation topics.
Okay, so if you don't know the story of Treasure Island, like, spoiler alert, I guess, it's been around for how long?
200 years.
200 years. Like, get to it. It's just like saying the next part of the Bible, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
Of course they bring him back.
Let me guess. He comes back. Spoiler alert. Yeah, that's my favorite joke. It's been around for so long. Yeah, so we're little synopsis of the story. I haven't read the book, so you tell me if anything is wrong. I'm just going to give you a synopsis of basically Treasure Planet. But there is a boy, and a man with a map shows up. And this guy is really into pirates and boats and whatnot. And so he's like, yes, I'm going to go do this. And then his alien...
We were off the rails before Alien.
Oh, dang it. Anyway, he goes on a trip. And...
Road trip.
Boat trip.
We're going to go find the treasure.
Anyways, the cook on the boat is actually a pirate.
Okay.
Is this anything close to the
I
book?
mean, it kind of, like, you're kind of...
Okay, you give an actual synopsis.
So Jim Hawkins is a young boy.
Which is such a good main character name.
Great main character name. Jim Hawkins. Fantastic stuff. He works at a bar and hotel kind of a thing.
It belongs to his mom.
Yeah, that belongs to his mom.
Anything that I say will be add-ons from Treasure Planet.
This is actually something that I think Muppet Treasure Island did better. The backstory is that Captain Flint is this legendary pirate captain who had a bunch of treasure, and he buried all of this treasure on this island, Treasure Island, right? It's called... Bobby Stevenson had a hard time getting all of the names correct, but or the names like the same. So it's on Treasure Island, and he has a map. And Flint dies, and Billy Bones takes the treasure map, and he runs away. And he shows up at Jim's.
Oh, Billy Bones is the guy who comes out of the spaceship.
That's right. Billy Bones is the...
And he's like, I forgot what he says, like the gate or something like that.
The gate. That's right. Yes.
I don't know.
Well, in the book, he's there for like a few months, right? He just kind of like hangs out, and he's the worst, and he's belligerent, and he just kind of sucks.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Tough.
Until finally, one of the guys shows up from that previous crew. Billy Bones was on the crew with Captain Flint, and he shows up and he gives Billy Bones the black mark on a piece of paper, and the black mark is like, oh, we're gonna come and kill you.
Oh, yeah, that's in Muppet
Treasure Island. Yeah. So then the whole crew shows up, and they show up to kill Billy Bones, but Billy Bones has already died of a heart attack because he drank so much rum. Anyway, Jim, yeah, that's real. That happens. Anyway, Jim takes the map, and he goes to a wealthy person, Fozzie Bear. He goes to them. He's like, I'm going to pay for the whole trip. I'm going to pay for the whole trip, and we're going to go find treasure. And Fozzie is so dumb.
So that's Fozzie in Muppet Treasure Island, and it's the dog guy.
No, it's not. The character does not exist in Treasure Planet because the character doesn't need to be there. This.
Wait, it's not the
dog guy.
The dog guy.
The dog guy is the doctor, and in the book, there's a doctor and a wealthy aristocrat guy who pays for the voyage. Wow. And in Muppet Treasure Island, there's only the doctor, or there's only the wealthy
rich guy.
And in Treasure Planet, there's only the doctor.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Right. So.
And in the book, there's both.
In the book, there's both, and it's really redundant, and it's not very fun. So I think that both. Yeah. No, wasn't a big fan of it.
Right.
They get on the ship. The Fozzie Bear is like, hey, I found this cook, and this cook has a whole crew of people who are ready to be on the ship with us. What luck! And the cook is Long John Silver, who was actually on the ship. And it turns out the whole crew was Captain Flint's previous crew. And they have weaseled their way into this expedition to go find this treasure.
Right.
During the trip.
Oh, I didn't know that they were Flint's crew.
They were all Flint's original crew. Silver was the quartermaster on the ship, so he was kind of the inventory guy.
Oh, he was Sam the Eagle on the previous ship.
Sort of.
Good job.
Yeah, that's first mate. Quartermaster is more of like inventory. You just kind of keep track of where all the food is and where who has what guns.
Okay. Side note, if none of this makes sense, pause the video, go watch all of these things and read the book, and then come back.
Yeah, we're kind of jumping through a lot of stuff. In Muppet Treasure Planet or Muppet Treasure Island, they make Sam the Eagle, whose name is Arrow. They make him
and he's the rock guy.
Right. They make him a bigger deal. Right. They make him because in the book, he is there for like 3 lines in the book, and he's the first mate. And then one night he disappears he goes overboard, and nobody knows what the heck happened to him.
He must be a beloved. Like, did you love him for the 3
in the book,
lines?
No, they say Arrow was first mate. He kind of drunk a lot. And then one night he went overboard, and in retrospect, it was definitely the pirates. Right? Like that's it. That's all. That's it.
How is he so beloved by the creators of these 2 films?
I think Muppet Treasure Island needed a way to show that the pirates were evil. Right. So they gave Sam the Eagle a bigger role. And I think that Treasure Island stole from that.
It means Treasure Planet.
Excuse me, Treasure Planet, the animated movie. Good heavens, this is a lot. We're just going to start calling them Muppets and Planet.
Muppets and Planet.
So in Muppets,
You're like yelling, by the way.
Am I yelling?
Yeah.
I'm shouting into my mic. It's because the gain is so far down. in Muppets, Arrow is given the specific role for this purpose. And then in Planet, they build on it, and he's the big rock guy.
Yes.
And he goes overboard, and it was definitely one of the pirates.
Right. I mean, we see it.
Right, we see it happen.
Scorpion guy.
Right. Who is Hands. And Hands is actually kind of cool. They take him out of, his name is Hands. And Muppet Treasure Island doesn't have him in it. But in the book.
Oh, not Muppets.
We're taking a long time. We're taking a long time to get through this. They show up at the island. The pirates betray the good guys. The good guys have a bit in the book. They have a big shootout. And the good guy, and then Jim runs away, steals the ship. And while he's stealing the ship, Hands, the scorpion guy, tries to kill Jim. So Jim blows his brains out with a gun. And then Jim brings the ship back. No, we're moving through this. Jim comes back to the island. Ben Gunn, who was a previous member of Flint's crew, was marooned here. He is the robot guy and Miss Piggy for some reason. And
Miss Piggy.
Benjamina Gunn. Yes. So Ben Gunn is a previous.
Oh.
In the book, he finds the treasure before anybody else shows up, and he moves the treasure to a secret cave.
And Ben the robot.
Ben the robot finds in the book, he's just this marooned dude. He finds the treasure,
Miss Piggy.
hides it in his cave, and that's right. That's why Miss Piggy has like the gold necklace and stuff. She's like hidden it somewhere else. And then the good guys outwit the pirates, and they steal the treasure, and they leave a few of the pirates on the island, and they run away. And John Silver plays both sides the whole time. So eventually he ends up with the good guys and they leave, and Captain Silver steals gold and runs away in the middle of the night. And that's the end of the book.
Oh, that's sad.
It is. It's really sad. And I think that Muppet Treasure Island does a better job of it because they make Tim Curry a little bit more likable, and they give him a few scenes with Jim Hawkins.
Right.
But Tim Curry is so detestable that it was hard to believe. And then Treasure Planet gives us the greatest emotional scene, like I'm still here scene.
I'm still here.
Copyright strike. And they do something else, and that is that they make Jim's dad. They do two things that I think save the whole story. First of all, they make the captain a cat lady. Super important. Really big, important to me, I think.
It's all about the furry draw. If you can draw in the furries, you have the money.
You have the money. They've got all the money. They've got it all. They do two things. One, they make John Silver and Jim, they make John Silver far more likable. They make him someone that you really are rooting for. You want him to live, you want him to succeed, you want him to choose a good path.
He's kind of a gray character because you want him to be good so bad because he's like a father figure to Jim.
And that's the other thing. In the book, Jim's dad dies at the beginning of the book from some disease, and his dad was a good man. But in Treasure Planet,
his dad was a bad man.
His dad was a bad man, and he left Jim alone. He left he left the family. Yeah. And so in I'm Still Here, Jim watches Silver right away on a cool adventure, and then he has the remembrance of the memory of his dad leaving, and then Silver comes back, and Jim jumps on the ship, and they have a cool adventure together. And that moment emotionally anchors the whole story. John Silver in the book is a force of nature and so much fun to read. He is easily the coolest character in the book.
Right.
But he is also, the book kind of is from an era where him being a dishonorable person is worse than the death of any of the other pirates.
Oh, how interesting.
So him being kind of like a flip-floppy scumbag dude who never who just kind of chooses whatever side is most beneficial at the time is really, really evil, right? Because this was a time of good Christian men, right? And
yes.
So that was a very different time. And John Silver in Planet is amazing because they capture that larger than life personality. They capture that larger than life image to him.
Right.
Tim Curry could never be John Silver because John Silver is a force of nature. And I think they do a magnificent job in Treasure Planet.
But Tim Curry could have interacted with the Muppets, and so that's why he has the role.
Yes, it is. And Tim Curry did a great job. He did a great job. They make him more of a villain in that movie, and I think that's great.
It needs it.
Yeah, that absolutely needs it. The problem is with the book is that the book was released chapter by chapter in magazines, and so it's kind of a little disjointed. There's a few chapters that I completely left out from my synopsis because they don't matter and they're dumb. And these iterations of Treasure Island since then have also left them out because they don't matter and they're dumb.
They just talk about the French, sewage system or something like that.
Kind of. They spend a few chapters just them getting off the boat and finding a good place to shoot pirates. And then the pirate shooting chapter is half a chapter long. And then Jim spends an entire chapter on a broken down little boat trying to get to the ship so he can steal it. An entire chapter on a boat that doesn't work like a boat.
Oh, so that you can tell, like, that week was obviously the, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm on vacation, so
Bobby.
I wrote this ahead of time.
Yeah.
I just ChatGPT'd this.
Kind of.
I'll be back from Maine soon.
Treasure. So the big first change is in Treasure Planet is the relationship between John Silver and Jim Hawkins. The other thing they do is
They're so wholesome.
they're so great. They're so fantastic. The other change they make is they age up Jim. In
this?
In this. In Treasure Planet, they make Jim a little older. They make him kind of like late teens.
Angsty teen.
Yes.
He's giving Anakin Skywalker.
Yes, absolutely. Big Anakin vibes. He is in the books, he's like 12 or 13 or something.
Oh, he's baby.
He's a baby. If you watch Muppet Treasure Island,
he's like 14.
He like talks all the way up here, and I want a family.
I know that he sings a song, and he's just like, I have a dream.
Well, do you know why? They recorded the songs, and then he went through puberty, so they had to use previous recording.
Oh, that is so good.
It's pretty great.
Oh my god.
So the thing is, the book is a bit of a coming of age story. There's a handful of moments where the adults look at Jim and go, "Jim, you moron, don't do that." And then Jim's like, "Huh. Okay, I get it." And like,
because he's actually a child.
He's actually a child. And so when he
Holy cow.
So when he finally has this fight with Hans and he shoots Hans in the face and Hans dies, it's kind of a big moment because
he's baby.
Yeah, and he's finally like a man, right? Like the quote on the back of the book is, "Don't take another step, Admiral Hans, or I'll blow your brains out. Dead men don't tell tales, you know." And it's like
different time.
Different time. So
I would like that embroidered on a pillow. Dead men tell no tales, you know.
So Treasure Planet makes the choice to.
Oh boy, really said, "I have the power of God and anime on my side." He's up. Sorry, I peeked the mic.
He's up in the rigging. Hans is coming up after him with a knife, and Jim pulls out the pistols.
That's such a scary scene in Treasure Planet.
It's so terrifying. He pulls out the pistols and he's like, "Hey, like, don't do it. I'll blow your brains out." And Hans is like, "Hey, man, like, that's just pirate, baby." Like, you know, he just says something like that. And then he throws the knife and it hits Jim in the shoulder and it like pushes, like, it like pins him up into the mast. And it he just out of reflex pulls the triggers on the guns and like friggin' like blasts this dude head off. And he falls into the ocean and dies. and Jim like
Jimbo.
It says like he shivered from the pain and that's what rips the knife out of his shoulder. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, Jim, go off.
It's sorry about that. It was pretty graphic, but it was.
I mean, that's awesome.
It was rad. It was super sick. But Treasure Planet, no, it doesn't do anything like that. But it does decide to make it a coming of age story. They make him an irresponsible teenager, and then they put him in positions of responsibility when other people are out of commission. So he has to go and make decisions, and he has to be in charge. He's
much more of a hero character.
Yes.
Yeah, young hero. Okay.
And I think those are good changes. I think those are the two best changes in the that they made in those movies.
Okay, so I have a question just about Treasure Planet, just a tangent a little bit. Treasure Planet was a movie that was made in 2011? 2002?
2002? 11?
That's when I was old enough to watch movies, okay? 2002. So this was like a millennials movie.
Ish, yes.
And so Isaac really loves Treasure Planet. And
I love Treasure Planet.
I love Treasure Planet, but it didn't do very well. Like this was considered not a movie that was successful. And so it was one of the main reasons they turned away from doing stuff like this, which was a massive mistake because it's actually art.
Yeah, it's magnificent. It is absolutely magnificent. It's a great movie. Do you not know the story of why that happened?
About why it didn't succeed?
Yeah.
I just think audiences didn't like it.
Incorrect.
What was it?
So first of all, I want everyone to know that I was a Treasure Planet OG fan. We had a box of cereal with all the Treasure Planet characters on the back. I cut each one of them out with scissors and attached them to popsicle sticks. And then I cut a hole in a refrigerator box, and I performed a little play with all the characters for the family. And I was very, very in love with this movie. I thought it was amazing. I had to be only 4 or 5.
Wow. Well, I mean, Isaac met Kelsey. And he was like, Kelsey likes Treasure Planet. That means a lot to me. I was like, what? Okay, cool. He's like, no. A lot to me. And I was like, okay.
Okay, no, I heard it the first time. What happened was there were the guys who made it, from what I understand, the guys who made it were put in charge of Disney movies. They had Treasure Planet was their big project that they wanted to work on. It was going to be their big, awesome movie. They brought it to the CEO of Disney and they said, CEO of Disney, we want to make Treasure Planet. And he was like, that's such a great idea. Hey, how about you do one project for me first?
Okay.
And they were like, cool. And so they did like The Little Mermaid, right? Like these guys were for real.
Right.
And like knocked out of the park. And it was fantastic. And they were like, okay, we want to do Treasure Planet now. And he was like, okay, how about just one more movie, please, guys. And they were like, fine, we'll do Beauty and the Beast, right? Like they did a few movies. I don't know if those were the exact movies,
right?
But they did a few movies in a row that like just knocked it out of the park, right? They were legendary. And then finally the CEO said, fine, you can do your weird Treasure Island sci-fi thing. I don't care. Do your thing. And so they started to make the movie. And the CEO left. And the new CEO showed up and he didn't believe in the vision. And he didn't believe in the directors, John Musker and Ron Clements. These are the guys who did Little Mermaid. He didn't believe in them. And so he did not market Treasure Planet.
Sorry. I was like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in this? Sorry.
Everyone's in it, Marin.
Sorry.
Martin Short is Ben. You know who Martin Short is?
Yes.
It's a
temporary setback.
It's from the Barbie movie. It's Barbie, Princess and the Pauper.
Barbie, Princess and the Pauper.
Legendary.
So good.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Jim Hawkins.
I didn't know that was him.
Yeah.
Good gracious, he did good.
So this movie got absolutely sunk on the corporate side. The corporate side was like, this is not the stuff, these are not the projects that we worked on. This is not the stuff that we care about.
Right.
We're sinking it. And so the movie did not get...
Dang, this guy's sick.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah.
No, Martin Short. It's Martin Short. Yeah, Martin Short's in everything. Martin Short's the best.
He looks like...
Ben Gunn?
No.
He looks like the marooned crazy man.
No, he looks like Preminger. He kind of...
He's great. I really like.
He looks like Preminger.
Have you seen Only Murders in the Building?
Mm-mm.
It's about Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez having a murder mystery podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have heard it.
It's good.
Okay, sorry. I'm not gonna get into Barbie Princess and the Pauper.
We're gonna have an episode about Barbie one day.
Someday. We have to put Caleb on for that one because
it'll be you and Caleb because you guys were the aficionados.
Me and Caleb would just watch them together at nighttime. We'd be like, I wonder what movie we'll watch, and we'd be like, Barbie.
We'll get Caleb on for that one. I'll swap out on that week. But Treasure Planet got sunk because of corpo crap, which really sucks because they had a sequel planned. There's concept art for it. There's a video game.
No way.
Absolutely.
Piss off, Disney.
Piss off. Just a bit of banter.
What about my movie?
They made a video game that has elements of the sequel in it, and apparently it's pretty decent still. It holds up. But there is like art if you want to look for concept art of the Treasure Planet sequel. The camera has cut out, and so now...
So now we are just going to slouch in our chairs.
Yeah, gonna end the episode. Relaxed.
The cool thing about Muppet Treasure Island, the cool thing about Treasure Island is that it's a story that has stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really admire that. Like, people are trying to make new stories and be so creative. But they're garbage. Because do you know what people like? They like a young hero who is going to fight the bad guys and, win. That's what we like.
Yeah.
And there's fun characters who have clearly been, twisted and parodied
and riffed
on to make so many other cool things and memories happen. So how do we help people to include that in their own work?
We've kind of talked about adaptation before.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about story retellings a lot, actually. I mean, especially right now, story retellings is kind of, it's what most people go to. I mean, it's just pretty common.
Right.
I think that the Muppet Treasure Island falls short of Muppet Christmas Carol. We're going to have a whole conversation about the Muppets another time. But
For Christmas,
yeah.
Tune in.
But Muppet Treasure Island and Treasure Planet both work. And I think that Treasure Island, the book, works because they are the passion, the true, just unbridled passion and voice of the creator. This is very clearly a story that they are telling, not because they think it will be profitable, not because they think it's trendy, not because they think it's, I think that's it, actually. Yeah, it's profitable and trendy. But because they genuinely love the idea of going on an epic adventure and growing up as you fight villains, and Long John Silver being this charismatic force of nature. They genuinely cared about those things, and they tried to preserve the things that were the best about it.
Right.
And and then they've tried their best to improve on it. I think in Muppet Treasure Island, Long John Silver tosses. He's like in the boat and he's rowing away from the ship at the very end of the movie. And this is not in the book. In the book, he disappears into the night, but in the movie, he has one final scene with Jim as he's rowing away with the treasure, and he tosses Jim the compass that Jim's dad gave him. And they have this kind of like sweet scene that kind of sees him off. And then Treasure Planet, I almost said Muppet Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet steals that scene too. And they give Long John Silver and Jim one final scene together, and he tosses Jim
some money to rebuild the restaurant that he burned down.
He burned down, yeah. And that is kind of beautiful. The fact that they both understood that the Treasure Planet people understood that the original story was lacking in a certain spot, and they weren't going to change that by making John Silver a different person. He was still going to keep the best parts, but then they included things to enhance those best parts.
Yeah, and what's kind of nice too is they both say, you know what? Jim deserves more than he got. Like,
yes.
He deserves more because he's so cool. He did these awesome things. He struck out on adventure. He deserves one more win. And I like that. I think the good guys deserve to win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that we are in an age of deconstruction. I kind of like seeing what people are trying to deconstruct, because sometimes we get so deep in the weeds, right? Something like The Boys or Invincible, right? They start out as kind of these parodies of superhero stories and kind of these commentaries on them. But if you go and you watch some Justice League cartoons, right? Or you go and watch some Batman. I've been watching Batman Caped Crusader.
Love.
Yeah? Yeah.
I love everything Batman. Batman's so cool.
You see these original ideas in that form again. It's not a parody. Eventually, all of those parodies and stuff, they have to become the thing they're making fun of. They unfortunately just become the trite, superhero schlock that they were making fun of to begin with. And seeing this original stuff, seeing Treasure Island, seeing Superman and Batman, it reminds us why those stories were so darn good to begin with.
In our own lives, we're always trying to overcome. I mean, it can be related to anything. I mean, to religion, to like experience, to history,
to education.
No matter what, we want the good guy, the person with integrity, the person who put the work in. We want them to come out on top. And so it's like, cool. You can remix the story how you want.
Yeah.
And
passionately use your voice.
Right.
But
at the same time, it's like, look, let the hero win. I hate it when they kill heroes at the end of stories. I'm like, what kind of garbage message is that? Like, ugh.
There's only one reason to kill a hero at the very end of the story, and that is if it is as a sacrifice.
Exactly.
If it is as a sacrifice, then that is a good reason to kill a hero. But even then, you've got to do that just right.
Like, don't do that until you're like a few things in, like a few writing pieces in. Like, don't
start with sacrificing your main character.
Oh my gosh.
Don't do that.
That's too hard to do. Like, I really believe in good characters, and that's why I like this story, because especially the Muppets, they're just sweet and they're wonderful.
So wholesome.
And they, like, you root for them in anything.
Yeah.
And like the same thing with Jim. I really hope that there are fun stories with complicated bad guys, with who aren't just. I mean, I love an evil bad guy, like who's just bubbling. But it's cool to see the range that this author inspired, named Richard
Bobby Stevenson.
Bobby Stevenson.
Making John Silver an immoral D-bag is actually a reflection of Jim's own dad being an immoral D-bag, and Jim growing beyond that is what makes the story beautiful. Not that our favorite character is an immoral D-bag. That's not the point. We all love him.
Yeah.
He's very entertaining, but we love the fact that Jim grows beyond him.
Right.
There are things, and there are good things, and there are good endings that we as people just love, and turning away from them for shock value or for originality is I'll be honest, it's kind of lazy.
Yeah.
Commit to a good ending.
Yeah. In The Queen of Blood, a book that John's wife Haley recommended, and I loved. It was so good and kind of a scary ending. but
yeah, terrifying.
One of the characters, his name is Ven, and his character is loyal and has integrity and loves the queen. That is his character, and he has deeper things than that. But like, even at the end, oh shoot, I probably shouldn't spoil this because it's a really good book. There's moments where his loyalty is really, really tested, and he decides to do the right thing. And I respect him. It's like, you're like, oh, he's so cool. Because you're like, that's awesome. And same thing here. It's like they choose to do the right thing.
We're not, like, I hate, like, what's our writing advice? Write good characters. I'm not saying that. I'm saying write morally upstanding characters. Write characters that you would want your kids to look up to.
Right. You don't have to include Jesus in every single story.
No. Peter's pretty good, though.
Yeah. And
so is Samuel the prophet.
And John, Joseph. Like, there's so many people who have good values that we love and we want to keep reading. I mean, there's a reason that the Bible is the most sold book in ever.
But there's plenty of places for Jim Hawkins.
Exactly.
And so write Jim Hawkins, darn it. Stop writing these morally gray.
This angsty teenager who's questioning their everything and who knows what's going to happen until they meet. And it's like, oh, goodness.
No. If you are going to put someone like that through the ringer, they better come out the other side like a more morally upstanding person than anybody else they know, right? That deep valley better be for the highest peak the reader has ever seen.
Yeah.
Just flat out.
Oh,
straight
gosh.
up. Thank you so much for listening to Sibling Scribbles. You can find us on TikTok. Marin's posting TikToks, and
come draw with me.
They're great. We are on Twitter, and we have a website where we have our webcomic, Shepherd Called Bales, shepherdcalledbales.com.
Listen to this podcast on Spotify and here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
And thanks so much for listening.
Stay creative.